Hello YouTubers. It's been brought to my attention recently that maybe I should let you guys in on some of the Celica stuff that I've been doing. Maybe you'd be interested in. What I've got here is a 1988 Celica all-trac. Now this is an IMSA GTO Championship edition. It's one of 77 that was sent to California car dealerships commemorating a race victory. This one here looks to me like it's seen better days. I've been working on it for years actually, straightening up the engine bay and stuff like that. Now I'm pretty sure this is not the original engine, because the original engine just had a straight hose that went to this water to air intercooler assembly, and the newer ones have a larger one, I'm pretty sure. Well, what I'm working on today is I've got a little bit of leakage here. From the looks of this thing, there's been a lot of leakage over time, but I stripped all the trim components out of it, leaving just the bare metal. I've also got the plugs pulled out of the spare tire stowage. Pretty sure most of my leakage is coming from around this brake light assembly. So what I think I should do is clean this up, because this is terrible. You can see all the old crap that previous owners have installed. Back speaker not even hooked up, just bare wires hanging out. This one here looks like it was ran to speaker wire, but for some reason they cut the chassis wire here. I'll have to straighten that out. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a scrub brush and some dish soap to this back section here and see if I can make it a little easier to work with. I mean, that stuff right there is just mud. Alright, so I went around, and like I said I was going to do, took a scrub brush and some dish soap and water and kind of started scrubbing on this thing. And if you're wondering, it's just a regular old scrub brush. There's a leaf in there for flavor. So I'm just going to rinse this off in a second and see what we come up with. And if you're wondering, guys, I'm just going to be using a regular garden hose here. On the back of this thing there's an adjustment so you can back it off where it doesn't hardly spray anything. So I'm not trying to get everything wet. Just trying to rinse it off. Enough water to get the dirt out of there. Don't really want to soak it down. I mean, I've got some of my interior components that I've cleaned up sitting in there. Really don't want to get those wet. Have to clean those again. So this is the results of our first scrub and rinse here. As you can see, this stuff that's caked over here is quite thick. Probably has some grease component to it. So probably going to take a couple of times to get the decades of grease and grime out of the inside of this. So what I need is something that's tough on grease, you know what I mean? A couple of times, hopefully this thing will be looking brand new. Seal up wherever the stuff was coming from and go from there. Alright, now this is the results of after about 3 scrubs. You see there's still a lot of dirt in there, a lot of grease. It's really tough, it's really hard to wash off. Don't want to use any soaps that are too crazy because this is all draining into my yard here. But I'm pretty sure if I just keep doing this, it's going to get cleaner and cleaner every time. To hopefully, before too long, I'll be satisfied with it. Alright, I think I'm just about at the limit of what I'll be able to do with the dish soap and water. What I'm left with is just some real tough grease. So, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to give some of this tough stuff a shot here. See how that ends up working out. Now it seems like this stuff works better if you let it sit for a good minute or so. I'm just going to make sure that we've got a nice little layer on everything. Let it sit and see what we end up with. I actually found myself in a rather large puddle after several scrubbings on the back of this thing, so I'm going to go ahead and move the car to a spot that's less wet and continue. So I've moved the car to a more sunnier spot. Right here in the sunlight, it ought to dry up pretty quick. It's not 100% clean as I'd like it to be, but I think we've got 80% of it wiped out at least. I'm going to go ahead and tackle this water leak that originally had me pulling panels out of this thing. It's probably going to be coming from this light assembly. I'll need to go ahead and find the stuff to remove 4 of these. And the light itself comes out pretty easily. You can see how dirty the bulbs are being exposed to the elements. Be sure to get this nice and cleaned up before it goes back in. This should never encounter water for obvious reasons. As you can see down inside there, there's actually water retained inside of it. And these fixtures are pretty hard to find. You can find them, but they're starting to get kind of expensive. I think I'm going to go ahead and see what I can do about sealing up this one. Okay, I went ahead and got the tools I think I'll need to pull this light assembly. A small ratchet, 8mm socket, of course 5/16 will still work, and a socket driver, which makes these a little easier once you get them broke loose with this. Let's see here. It's hard to do while holding a camera. Get them broke loose with this ratchet here. Sometimes these are hard and sometimes they're easy. Of course, a little bit of thread lube on there would work wonders. Get everything loosened up with that. This time. Some things are just hard to do with one hand. Go ahead and pull these nuts off. Okay, well I've got the 4 nuts off of it. And it looks like that would be what you needed to take it off. But whenever you're taking something apart, especially with something you've never taken apart, be really careful, because there's 2 screws right here, and if I just went to jerking on it, it would break this fixture. Okay, now this is actually a separate assembly. Looks like it pops out of the fixture here, and I can undo the bulb from right there. Okay, now that I actually have all the stuff I need to take off taken off, go ahead and pull it. So you can see there's some butyl in there that's really wanting to hang on, but unfortunately it's not worth a damn, really. You can see where it's been leaking all around this thing for who knows how long. Well, now that we got the fixture out, we can take a look at the damage. You can see all along the top here, there's nothing left of the sealant. That stuff there was just wide open. Even on the outside, you can see nothing really there to stop water from running right on in. Also see inside here, this whole thing is filled with water. Kind of see on the inside lenses there where water probably got in there and froze. So I'm going to try to clean this up, see where all it's leaking from. And go from there. Okay, now I'm just starting to scrape away some of the butyl here. If you guys have had any experience with this stuff, but it's just nasty. It's difficult to get off of a part. Didn't do its job very well for long. It's sticky, it's nasty, it's hard to wash off your hands. Try to get as much of it off here as I can. Now, these fixtures come apart. They've got little, let's see if I can find one. They've got little snaps that hold them on. Really don't want to take this apart if I don't have to. The plastic can be quite brittle and will probably break with very little force. So I'm going to try to clean it up without taking it apart. I may have to. See a lot of, especially with this fixture, a lot of debris inside of the lens. Yeah, all that stuff's got to go. Have nice, clean looking plastic for that light to shine through and look perfect. Another real common spot that you'll see leakage from butyl. Right here in these little triangle windows, you can see where the butyl has actually started to bubble out from behind it. And this caused some pretty severe leakage. If it's in a car that's just sitting somewhere, it can do some pretty serious damage to your seats. I think this one spent a lot of time indoors, even though it was sitting in a junkyard for a long time. But you can see stuff like how the metal from the seat frame rusted up against that foam down there. So it's from leakage from these windows. This butyl has the consistency of tree sap. I mean, it's terrible. I hate having to clean it off of stuff, and really wish they hadn't put it on there. It's a chore for sure. Alright, I've decided after scraping on this for a while that I'm going to go ahead and take my chances with trying to get it apart. See, there's multiple little snaps there. I actually have what Toyota recommends in the service manual for getting stuff like this apart. It's basically a flathead screwdriver with electrical tape on it. Kind of minimizes the risk of breaking it, but there's still a possibility, so I need to be really careful. Alright, well, I've tried to pry this thing open several different areas, and it's one of those deals like when they put it together, they used a glue that is probably a lot stronger than the plastic that it's on. So go ahead and cancel taking this fixture apart to clean it. I'm just gonna have to find another way. And there's dirt packed inside of it. Maybe I can just spray it out with a hose. This side of it does appear to be watertight, so that's another reason that don't think I should take it apart. See, this thing does do a fairly decent job of holding water, which is good. Got something down underneath this inner lens, and real leery about trying to take it apart. Like I said, plastic is real fragile. Other than that, it's looking relatively clean on the other lenses. see what I can't figure out to get rid of whatever that stuff is inside of there. Alright, so I think I've got it pretty well cleaned out on the inside. I don't know what the heck that was in there. It's all looking pretty good. Should be nice, bright, and pretty. Now the stuff that was in there, I don't know what this is. This is like a sealant or something maybe? I don't know. But it washed out in chunks once I got a hold of it with this here. It's a pipe cleaner is what it is. You can get them at Walmart in the arts and crafts section. They're good for a lot of things. I use them to clean out the gas systems on an AR or whatever. But I'm about to have to stop recording and pull this thing in the garage because it looks like it's about to start raining. Okay, so got a lot of what's left of the butyl cleaned off of the chassis side of it. Looks like we got another little leak right here where the factory sealers failed. Got a little spot here where the metal's trying to protrude a little bit. I'll probably smooth that up. Got the light fixture all cleaned up best I can without taking it apart. Hopefully there isn't a big piece of junk in there that's going to light up, because then I'll have to do it all over again. Also cleaned up the actual bulb fixture. Used some of this electric parts cleaner. It's pretty good stuff. I'm trying to get focused in on this plug here for the tail light. It's pretty dirty in there. So what I'm going to do is take some of this electrical cleaner and let's see if I can get you on camera here. Yeah, this stuff is really good for cleaning up your electrical connections. Make them nice and pretty. Okay, I've got a lot of the garbage sealer off of there. I'm gonna go ahead, after a short break, go ahead and put some silicone in there, try to seal this up. Now I've went ahead and I've run me a little bead of this red high temperature silicone, and some of you guys might be asking, why high temperature? Well, the back of this car might get hot at some point, and a lot of you guys might be saying, well, that looks like shit. Well, the thing about it is, this little bead of silicone is going to be completely covered by the taillight assembly, so you won't be able to see any of this red silicone in here, and hopefully there's enough here to seal off where it was leaking. You might notice I ran a little bead across where the factory sealer had failed. Now this factory foam seal here on this bit appears to be doing a pretty decent job of keeping the water out, so we'll reuse that and see how it acts. Alright, I've got the fixture bolted back up. You can see on the inside of here that the amount of silicone that's bled through is really minimal. We don't need a whole bunch. We just need enough to seal it up. The thing about this light fixture is all the water that drains off this hatch runs down this here and ends up draining over the top of this fixture. So, pretty important for it to be sealed up. I've got this piece all cleaned up, but before I stuck it in there, I was just going to make sure that my tail lights are working, the brake lights work. I just tried them, reverse and turn signal. So now that I know it all works, I'm going to go ahead and put it together. Alright, we've got it all put back together. I'm going to give this silicone some time to dry up, and then if it doesn't rain, we'll test it out by spraying it with a hose.